Hi, my name is Chris Hilliard, and welcome to my Learning Environment portfolio. I created this website for IT 3210 at Georgia State University, and in this class we learned how to integrate technology into the classroom. And so we learned a lot of different tools for doing this, a lot of Web 2.0 tools. We learned about productivity tools, and we created lesson plans based off what we learned and formed them into a unit, and that is the content of this website. So scroll down here. This is the home page here. Scroll down here. This is just a little welcome letter to my learning environment portfolio. Introduce myself and gives a brief outline of the website and what they can find. And then my contact information there at the bottom. So scroll back up here. The first thing I want to point out is my classroom environment. I used classroomforteachers.org to create this. And I think the main characteristic of my classroom will be to facilitate discussion. And so that's why I have my students at tables and groups rather than individual desks. I think when you're in an individual desk, it's hard to discuss things with your classmates, and it doesn't really encourage discussion. And so that's why I have my students in groups. The computer's on the left there, as you can see, the projector pointing the front. Then the other thing I wanted to point out was the table in the middle where it says Kidney Table. This table will be my deliverables table. My students will know as soon as they come in that they need to pick an agenda up off this table, and they need to look at the different baskets to see what are the different handouts that they're going to use in that class. And they'll pick them up when they first come in, and that way I don't waste time passing things out, making sure every student has enough. It's their responsibility to pick this up at the beginning of class. My desk will be there in the corner so that it can survey the entire classroom all at once. So that's a basic layout of my classroom, what it will look like. I'll take you now to the blog. This is a blog that I created for the class to just reflect on things that we learned, things that I liked about the class, and things that I didn't like, and specifically ways that we will use what we learned in the classroom. So scroll down here talking about social media, things like Twitter or Edmodo or Pinterest, and how I plan to use those in the classroom. The fact that I use those every day and had never even considered using those in the classroom. And so then scrolling up, talking about different Web 2.0 tools. We had a synchronous online class that I thought was interesting, but became frustrated. The more we're dependent on technology, the frustrated we get when it doesn't work. And so that's the topic of that post. And then up here, just seems like everything started coming together. I learned lots of different Web 2.0 tools. One thing that I wanted to point out specifically was a Web 2.0 tool called MindMeister. And in this, you can create concept maps, interactive concept maps that utilize media. I love concept maps. I plan to teach my students about them and how to use them effectively a lot. And so that was one tool I just thought was really cool. So moving on, now I want to take you through the About Me section. I'm a very personal person. I'm a very friendly person, and that's one of the characteristics. Will be one of the characteristics of me as a teacher, and so this is very indicative of that. I have some of my personal pictures, my friends, my brother, some kids that I worked with at a summer camp that, and working at that summer camp greatly influenced in me wanting to become a teacher, and so wanted to include that. And so the About Me just introduces all of that, gives a bigger um, insight into my life and why I want to become a teacher. And I thought that was important to include. So the unit plan, I'll just take you briefly through lesson one. Here are some pictures on the unit plan site of iconic places in Europe that I will definitely teach my students about: the Pantheon, the Basilica, the Leaning Tower, and the Eiffel Tower, of course, and we got Big Ben there in the bottom right corner. And lesson one will utilize mapping skills to help the students learn the location of certain geographical features listed in the standard, the Georgia Performance Standard. And so, like I said, I'm not going to take you through that specific lesson. I do want to take you through lesson two, though, because lesson two utilizes the Web 2.0 tool that I just mentioned, MindMeister. In lesson two, the students will collaborate using the Web 2.0 tool MindMeister to create a mind map for one of the three major religions of Europe. So I will show you the lesson plan for that one. So you have, it's called Mapping Out Religions. It's for 6th grade. The standard is SS6G11, and that says the student will describe the cultural characteristics of Europe. And substandard B says describe the major religions in Europe, include Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. And I have my technology standards listed there. My long-term goal or outcome is I want my students to be able to describe the religions of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism, and how those religions are represented in Europe. And so, given access to MindMeister, the students will create a concept map, which identifies the characteristics of Islam, Judaism, and Christianity. So the students will have already created this map at this point, and as the students enter, they will review the maps of Europe that they filled out in the previous lesson. I'll have them graded at that point, and the best ones will be displayed. Once everyone has settled, I'll begin my mini lesson on the major religions of Europe. For 20-25 minutes, I'll do direct instruction, and they will have fill-in-the-blank notes that they'll fill out from the PowerPoint. And so, after that, they'll be divided into groups of 3. They'll be given access to MindMeister, and they'll create a concept map about one of the 3 major religions. And each of the 3 students will also be responsible for finding one piece of media that represents their religion. And so what I'll be doing is I'll be going around the classroom, making sure they're staying on task and accessing appropriate media for their religion, as well as they're accessing appropriate sites to find that media. And so after they've created their mind maps, they will present those to the class. And that way each student will see a mind map and will receive a mind map at the end of the day for each of the religions. And so, like I said, I'm incorporating Web 2.0 tools I learned about in the classroom. The only thing that I would possibly change about this lesson is maybe breaking it up into 2 parts and having a notes and information gathering day and then an application day where they're applying all of this and creating their maps and working together. The cool thing about MindMeister though is you can access it from anywhere, from a number of different platforms, and you can collaborate with multiple people simultaneously. So a student can work on their iPad on this mind map simultaneously at the same time that another student is working on it from his home computer, and the changes that they make show up in real time. So I thought that was really cool and something that facilitates learning. So I'll take you now to the rubric for this lesson. I will be judging the mind maps. Pardon me. Sorry, it scrolled over. I apologize about that, but I will be judging my students based on content accuracy, the attractiveness and organization of their mind maps, how easy is it to follow, the content and accuracy, the characteristics of all 3 major religions, how they're described, that they represent the correct religion, the graphics and the pictures that they use, that they're appropriate for the class and appropriate to the religion that they're representing, and then spelling and proofreading. Just basic layout, basic rubric, 4 different sections, a total of 16 points for this assignment. Now I'll move on. I created an exemplar for this using Buddhism. And so you can see I have the key concepts, karma, and other things here listed, the 4 Noble Truths, the denominations or the sects, the major teachers here, the origin and the primary location, and the deity, which Buddhism obviously doesn't have. This is just a basic outline of what it could look like. And you can see I included media. You can use video in this. You can use a number of different sources of media in MindMeister, and I just think it's a great tool to utilize. And so that was lesson 2, creating the mind map. So we'll move on now to lesson 3, and these buttons will take you to all of those places. So moving on now to lesson 3. In lesson 3, they will use the mind maps they created as the basis to create a brochure describing a specific religion in Europe. So they're going to take all this information and they're going to organize it into an informational brochure that they create with Publisher. Again, using these same groups, but they'll be assigned a different religion this time. That way they're learning about multiple things, and they'll collaborate with their classmates to produce, so take the information that they know and they're using it to create a bigger assignment, something more, using critical thinking skills, and I think that was a great way to do that. And so that was my unit on Europe. I hope you enjoyed it. You can feel free to look at the lesson plans or to contact me using the website here on the home page down here. Contact me if you have any questions about the lessons or things about technology. I really enjoyed this class and really enjoyed learning about how to use technology in my classroom. Thank you very much. Have a good day.